Hello friends, welcome to MS Tech DevOps channel. Regarding myself, my name is Malkiyat Singh and I'm working as a server storage operation analyst in IoT sector cloud. And I'm having a 7 years of experience in IT field. So today we are going to talk about Git. So what is a Git? So Git is a global information tracker. So it is an open source distributed version control system. So that is designed to handle everything from small to very large projects with the speed and efficiency. So we will start with explaining what is a Git and some background of version control tools, and we will talk about how to get a Git running on your system, and finally how to get it set up to start working with it. And later you should understand why Git is around and why you should use it, and you should be all set up to do so. So let's talk about first a little bit history of the Git. So the Git began with a bit of creative destruction and fiery controversy. So the Linux kernel, you already know, is an open source software. And what happened, in 2005, uh, Linux were using a DVCS, that is a distributed version control system. So it was using a bit keeper. So in 2005, the relationship between the community that developed the Linux kernel and the commercial company that developed BitKeeper broke down. So the tool that was free of charge was revoked. So what happened? The Linux development community, uh, like uh, the particular Linus Torvald, the creator of Linux, you already know, they developed their own tool based on some of the lesson they have learned while using the BitKeeper. So some of the goals of the new system were like a speed and a simple design and strong support and fully distributed, and which able to handle a large project like Linux kernel efficiently. So since it birthed in 2005, so Git was evolved or matured to be easy to use and yet retain these initial qualities. So it is amazingly fast, it is very efficient with the large project, and it has an incredible branching system for non-linear development. So let's talk about now the version controlling. So about the version control. So what is a version control and why you should care about it? So the version control is a system that records changes to file. So that record changes to the file, or you can say set of files. So over the time that you can recall a specific version later, for example, like you will use a software source code as the files being version control. So let's say if you're a graphic or a web designer and want to keep every version of an image. So like you are a graphic designer, want to keep every session of the of your file version. So a version control system is a very wise thing to use. So it allows you to revert selected files back to the previous status. So it allows you to revert selected files back to previous state. So the entire project back to a previous state and compare changes over time. Like you can see who last modified something that might be causing a problem, who introduced an issue, and when, and more. So using a VCS also generally means that if you screw things up or lose files, you can easily recover. So in addition, you will get all this for very little overhead. And let's talk about the local version control system. So the many people's version control method of choice is to copy files into another directory. So perhaps a timestamp directory, and if they're clever, this approach is very common because it is so simple, but it is also incredibly error prone. So it is easy to forget which directory you are in and accidentally write to the wrong file or a copy over files you don't mean. So to deal with this issue, programmers long ago developed local VCS. So this is it. And that had a simple database that kept all the changes to files under revision control. So one of the most popular VCS tool was a system called RCS, and which is still distributed with many computers today. And RCS works by keeping patch sets, like that is the difference between files, in a special format on the disk. So it can then recreate what any file looked like at any point in the time by adding up all the patches. And that was a local version control system. And let's talk about the centralized version control system. So the next major issue that people encounter is that they need to collaborate with the developers on other systems. So to deal with this problem, a centralized version control system were developed. So these systems have a single server that contain all the version file and a number of clients that check out files from that central place. For many years, this has been the standard for a version control. I can show you here. Here it is. So all the developers using a centralized shared repository. Let's talk about the distributed version control system. So this is a very uh, like what do you call a DVCS, such as a Git, a Mercurial, Bazaar, or Docs. So in DVCS, clients don't just check out the latest snapshot of the files, rather, they fully mirror the repository, including its full history. Thus, if any server dies and these systems were collaborating via that server, any of the client repository can be copied back up to the server to the restore it. So every clone is really a full backup of all the data. So this is about little bit of the Git. Next, we are going to talk about the installation of the Git on our Linux, and I'm going to use my VMware workstation, and I have already installed CentOS Linux 8 version, and see you in the next video. We are going to install the Git. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.